Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the League of Inches podcast, our Parra edition. So, talking all things Parramatta. And look, quick announcement. Some of you may or may not have already heard this announcement. I'm not too sure, but this will no longer be a week-to-week podcast for our Parra. We will literally just be discussing any hot topic that is involved with the Eels. Obviously, this one is all, and you've probably seen the status already of this, or the title of this podcast or show. It's all about Lachlan Galvin, which is huge. The rumours, which is pretty much all confirmed, he has signed with the Dogs, 3.5-year contract. So Parramatta have missed out on him, unfortunately. Or is it unfortunate? We will discuss tonight just basically our thoughts around everything, plus sort of either way of the fence, where you sit, where you can see things. And then lastly, we'll just touch on where this puts Parramatta moving forward in terms of the future prospects and what to do with now. We've got an extra 750 or so K to play with over the next couple of years, which they would have put away to have for Lachie Galvin coming over to the club, basically effective immediately. So plenty to discuss. It was probably the week where we were just going to have a week off talking Parramatta stuff. Look, that'll still be happening in our general review shows and live shows and stuff like that. But Lachie Galvin decided to make this week the week he decides. And unfortunately, we are the team that has missed out. Jake, massive news in the rugby league world. It went into a meltdown today. Everywhere was chatting about it. Interesting to see how quickly things have changed as well. I will say that. There was a lot of Parra fans and pages and stuff that I've seen, even as of yesterday, that couldn't wait to welcome Lachie Galvin with open arms. As soon as the news came out today, it's very funny how quickly that mindset changes for them. And, we don't want him anyway. We're better off without him, things like that. So we'll unlock it all. But what are your immediate reactions to it?
I've had very mixed emotions about this because there is one major benefit that I think of us not getting him that I think that everyone is missing out on. And that fact is we are not being stuck with another half that is managed by Isaac Moses. Like, even in the fact that he signed at the Bulldogs, you can see that there's an issue with Moses straight away because basically all the news we had coming out was that he was coming to the Eels, right? And so the fact that he's even gone, like from all reports and from everything we heard, he was going to go there. So it seems like he's doing a little dodgy deal on the side to go somewhere else kind of thing, even when he's starting to make these claims he's going to go to Parra and whatever. So I don't want to be anywhere near Isaac Moses. I don't want him to have anything to do with this, to be honest with you. I know that he obviously has to for Mitch, and I don't want Mitch going anywhere. But other than that, if we can avoid having someone else, I don't know. It's a difficult one because at the same time, how good is Galvin? Like, I would have been okay with having him too. Like, it's such a difficult one.
Well, let's attack it from that point of view first, in terms of the point of missing out on him, I guess, being a positive, because it can be seen that way. Like you sort of said, like, there's no doubt in my mind Galvin's going to be a very, very good first-grade footballer. He's one of the best young talents we've arguably ever seen in our lifetime, for a matter of fact. And you are right, though. Like, this has always been a massive circus, and it's been one of my things that I haven't liked from the get-go, even before Parramatta were even linked with Lachlan Galvin. From a Tigers point of view, I've always said I don't like the noise that's being created here. I don't like the stance that's being taken. It didn't sit well with me. This is a young guy that the Tigers gave the opportunity to. This is sort of how it's repaid in a way. I know people go, yeah, but he's told him he'll stay there till the end of next year. We all know how it works. There was no chance that was ever going to happen. And this is Isaac Moses' play. This is him doing what he does best. I know there's plenty of clubs out there that basically deal with him because they have to, in a way, in terms of the fact that he's got so many good young prospects on his books. So if you want to have a good future moving forward, you essentially have to deal with him in some sort of way, it feels like. But it's getting harder and harder. And I'm with you there, Jake, that sentiment there, in terms of it means we don't have one more extra Isaac Moses player, which could, and we're seeing it at clubs like Manly and that, where that's not a good thing. If he can have multiple players at your club, he can almost start to dictate, in a way, what happens there and financially and things like that, and it can put you in a hole really, really quickly. So that's a huge advantage you're missing out on him. There's no doubt about that. That no Isaac Moses part, huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's something. Look, I think that the Roosters actually do really well is they just go, if you're managed by Isaac Moses, you won't come to our club, and that's simple as. And Now, I understand that if we had that sentiment, we wouldn't have Mitch Moses, right? So I understand that that's not necessarily viable for us right now. Potentially in the future, if we have no Isaac Moses managed players, I'd be super happy with going, right, from now on, it's just a straight ban on Isaac Moses managed players. You don't touch our club anymore. Until then, we deal with what we've got.
Yeah.
But I think that it was going to be a situation where, he probably would have come in, he would have done a job straight away for us, and we would have started looking really good. I know that at the moment, and we'll talk about this soon, that at the moment the Eels actually have been looking pretty good over the last 2 weeks. Like I've actually been starting to sort of see some stuff, and I'll get into that later. But obviously that's with Dylan Brown in the side. He's not in the side moving forward. We will need to have another option, which again we'll talk about later. But then we're sort of trading into that. We need to figure out what our priority is, whether it's trying to still make a late push to the 8 this year, or whether it is like really setting ourselves up for long-term future success. And I feel like that's what Riles is trying to do. So I feel like, to be honest with you, while it sucks that we didn't get Galvin for his talent and for his skill, there will be others. There will be other players who will come up and have this talent and all this, right? And our team is young and they're still developing, and they're going to grow together. So if we're going to pick someone, I want to have somebody at the team. I want to have somebody in that 6 role who just bleeds blue and gold. And obviously, while Gavin went from as a junior, he had the opportunity to come to us. He can't have been that loyal because, they were very similar offers from what all the reports were, and he's not chosen us. So I don't know what the go is there, because he would have slotted straight into that 5'8" role, guaranteed, like jump straight into it, no issues. Yeah, so I don't know.
Do you buy into the whole he was a Parra fan his whole life sort of thing? His family is this is a weird thing to do, stuff like that. Like, because me personally, I don't really, because he was a Parra junior. He was obviously coming through the grades there. We told him at one point that he basically effectively wasn't going to get to the position where perhaps the Tigers could get him to in terms of first grade as quickly as he wanted to, or that chance to even be in that sort of a system. So I guess we sort of shred our cards first, if I'm going to be brutally honest in this situation, where he doesn't owe us anything. Like, there is a number of players in the NRL who have been Parra fans their whole life, even before this current generation, the ones before that, because they watched the things like Sterlo and Kenny, and the Eels of the 80s were the team to watch. Like, there were so many players who grew up in that era who were Parra fans who ended up going and playing for other clubs and stuff. I don't think that means anything. And I don't think Parra fans should begrudge him for anything like that because of that. Because, to be fair, it's the NRL. Like, there's only so many positions he can play. There's only so many slots that we can fit him in, money, all that sort of stuff. I can't hold that against him. I love how, like, the nostalgia about it. I love the emotion behind it. It would have been awesome. But at the same time, like, that for me, that's a sort of I don't get that part of the argument. Like, it doesn't affect me one bit.
No, look, I think, like, if I'm looking at it from the view of, and I can't, it's hard to do this because obviously I've never been in his situation, right? Like, I imagine you and I, if we had the opportunity where we were playing for the Eels and then they said, like, you're not big enough or whatever they said to him, and we're like, you're not going to probably play in this top grade for us kind of thing. You're welcome to go look elsewhere. That would be cutting. But I also think that if I went to this other place and I actually showed what I had and I got the opportunity to go back, I would, because I could never just picture myself wanting to play for another club. But that's hard to tell. Like, we're not professional NRL players, so it's hard to, like, throw that out there kind of thing. I do buy into it. I don't know. Like, in the sense that I don't know whether the fact that we let him go has really cut him that deep, and that's why. It could be. That could definitely be the reason why. Like, it's very difficult, and I'm not sure. Just a little one on your point there. I think that more players who would be coming through now, especially like Galvin's age, would probably be a little more influenced by, like, your Nathan Hindmarsh's, but maybe like your Jared Haynes kind of thing, potentially too.
Yeah. Benji as well. Benji would be big for the youngsters. Sean Johnson, those sorts of players.
Exactly right.
They'd be huge for the Lockie Alvin gauge sort of age players coming through 100%. In terms of, I guess, the disappointment side of things around Lachlan Galvin and not signing him, I'd be honest with you, mate, I'm actually gutted. Like, it's been a couple of hours for me to take this in and soak it in. When it all came out, I was gutted because, to be fair, like, since basically it was all spoken about, I've been so confident in getting him until probably midway through the last week, where rumors of the Dogs started to come through. And that's hard to go, oh, hang on. To be honest, and calling just a spade, I'm pretty disappointed in the club for not getting this done. And I know there's other reasons for potentially why, and we'll probably never know the full story of this. Hopefully, maybe we can get told. Someone reach out to us, please. Inform us, let us know. But it's gutting because now I look at it, we've lost Dylan Brown next year, who I still rate, and I know Parra fans are off him and saying he doesn't do. I still rate him as one of the top probably 5'8" in the game. And then now we're about to replace him with probably the best young 5'8" in the game, which would have looked so good for us moving forward. And now we sort of go back to the drawing board. We'll talk about it very shortly in terms of what we can do now with the cash and that, which in a way is exciting to play that game where we love that sort of stuff. But just on the Galvin front, it's really, really disappointing.
It is. It hurts because we know what he has got in him. We actually know what he can produce. And last year, any games that the Tigers won, it was either him or Api Coruscant that were basically, or both of them together, that were basically carrying them through those games, which means that he's already been used to sort of that adversity. I wonder almost, and I do wonder a little bit whether the positions that both teams are in at the moment had some sort of effect on him. Like obviously the Bulldogs are in more of a position to potentially have a run at the comp right now at this exact moment than the Eels are. I understand that, I do. But at the same time, like, you know, the Eels have been showing some shoots and looking a little bit better, that type of thing. I was disappointed, but because I had heard those rumors about a week beforehand, I kind of almost just assumed it was going to happen. So it was a bit of a slow burn for me. So when it did get announced, I didn't really I was more, I don't know, I wasn't that cut about it, even though I'm thinking about it now and I'm like, God, he would have been perfect. Next to Moses in that line, it just would have just all meshed together so beautifully, like a young player coming into that spine with Moses is your experienced half, you got your young running 5'8", like just perfect. And I think he's got a little bit more confidence than Dylan Brown does too, like at times. I think that I don't think necessarily he's smarter, but I think he's more vocal, which I think is very important in your halves kind of thing. And I don't know, I would really like to see him in there. I really am disappointed in it. At the same time, sorry?
So I was going to say, just on that, does it make you a bit worried in terms of our recruitment and in terms of landing those big fishes that we just don't seem to be able to do it? Because look, I know there'll be people that listen and watch this and straight away will be on their keyboards going, Zach Lomax, from mine. I'm going to say he's different because he was screaming to get out of the Dragons. And basically it felt like it was a very easy sell in a way. It was like almost a match made in heaven. Him and Moses was getting along in Origin camp. It was the right time, and it just happened. So it felt like that was perfect. So I don't really include that in a way because even I think since signing that contract Lomax last year, that's when he became now the player he is today, where that's probably still a credit to him and I guess our club for what they've done for him since he's got here. I don't think he was that star where I don't know the last time we've actually recruited a genuine star in the game like this. Feels like another slap in the face for our recruitment.
It doesn't, because my question to you is how much more money would you be willing to throw to him? Because both supposedly Bulldogs and Eels both tabled very similar offers, right? Bulldogs up their offer after that again because they weren't sure. So supposedly they've upped their offer. And then the Eels have gone, we don't want to get into a bidding war for him and put our club at a more disadvantage later. Like, we don't want to be overspending here on basically this young kid, which while he's so talented, I kind of also get there are going to be more. So don't get me wrong, if it was like a Munster, or if it was like that really established player who exactly what you're going to get out of him and exactly what he's going to provide for your team, like that style of thinking, then yeah, I'd go, I'm really disappointed in this one in terms of the recruitment. I think we all, as Parra fans, what we've been complaining about over the last few years is overspending and our club paying overs to get players, right? Although typically it's more older players. We have been paying overs. We've been known to pay overs to get players into the club. I'm glad that our higher-ups are sort of standing by now and going, no, if they don't want to play for the club for the amount we've offered them, which is very similar, it's not that huge of a difference. It's very similar. If they don't want to play for the club, then they're not coming here. We're not paying more people to play for money. We want people over here for the club. So to be honest with you, I don't think it's a recruitment issue. I think if he wanted to be at the Eels, for that big of a difference, because he's already taking a pay cut of $1 million from the Tigers, right? So it's not about money for him. We've said that. It's not about money. So he either wanted to come or he didn't. He clearly didn't want to come. That's it. There's not much more we can really say about that. He clearly didn't want to be. He didn't want to be at the Eels that badly.
Mm-hmm. To answer your question, I probably would have edged to 850 up to the edge of 900. To be honest, I actually it's funny that you mentioned him in the same sentence. I think he's the next Cameron Munster of our game. I actually have that much of a rap on Lachlan Galvin and what I've seen so far. So he's very young still. In my opinion, he's just going to improve and get better. And it just made a lot more sense to sign with Parramatta. I know that could look and come across biased to some out there, but just that partnership with Moses, Mitch Moses, that is, seemed to be the ideal fit. And if I was him, I would have looked at, because at the moment, he's no shoo-in for the position at the Dogs at the moment, if we're being realistic. Like, obviously, I think this means Sexton will go. He won't stay at the Dogs for next year. Not here to talk too much about that sort of stuff, but it just seems a lot more up in the air at the Dogs in terms of where, if he went to Parramatta, he just slipped in away he went. I know for immediate effect, it would have been a little bit different because Dill Brown was still there for the rest of the year. But I'm got no doubt for short term, they could have made it work. So, yeah, I would have gone up to about that. I get the overspending stuff. I do. I also get the fact that some of these young guys, some of these young talent, like, I just think he's a different kettle of fish, and it is bitterly disappointing. But
it is, and I fully understand it. I understand your disappointment, and there's going to be Eels fans that are gutted. There are going to be Eels fans that are not. The way I see it, and this is going to transition, I suppose, into what we're about to start talking about now anyway, is that the way I see it is our junior teams at the moment are crushing it, right? Reserve grade, Flegg, and SG Ball are all crushing it. Our pathways are looking probably the best they've looked in a long while at the moment. So we have some players coming through, and I understand that they're not as developed as him and things like that, but he's only played for a year. Don't forget that. He has shown a lot, okay? And he's shown a lot this year, but he's only played for a year. You can bring up other players for the Eels, even start playing them this year, potentially, just like in a game or two to blood them kind of thing, depending on, again, our long-term goals and what we're looking for. And you can do that to see what we've got in our club, whether that will fit. And if not, then we can try to look outside of the Eels.
Yeah, no, that's fair, and we'll get onto it. So, where does this leave the Eels moving forward? I mentioned at the start of the podcast, it allows us probably that extra 750 sort of figure to now spend moving forward. One thing I'll say on this before we get into players and that to look at, one comment that's popped up a few times, I looked at a couple of the statuses we put up and a few people's comments before starting this. It's the whole thing of, you know what, we don't really need to spend that much on Galvin. We just need someone to fit in with Moses. That, for mine, is the biggest worry at the moment, because if we're being realistic, the last 2 years, we've had moments where Moses has been out for a big patch of the season, and that has really, really hurt us because Dill Brown obviously wasn't that organising playmaker, and we've failed to have depth. Granted, we are freshly coming off a weekend where we actually seen our good reserve grade half in Dean Hawkins kill it. At the same time, he has a few more of those games. I've got no doubt things like Super League and stuff will come calling. And there could even be some clubs out there that actually start to say to him, you know what, like someone at the Knights go, let's just go and try and get him at halfback. It's like, I know it's a bad one because I've got Brown, but just those sorts of teams who are struggling at the moment with halves say, you know what, Dean, come over and talk. So that has been my biggest worry. We don't want to just sign a genuine 5'8" and we'll get stuck in that same mold where it's with Dylan Brown at the moment, where as soon as Moses is out, his game turns to complete mush, where I wanted someone, and like I said from the start of it, I thought the ideal signing when he was available was Fogarty, because between him and Moses, we're going to see similar to Origin on this week, where Moses and Cleary can sort of play together, go either side, things like that. I like that idea for the last year or two for Fogarty to come in, someone like that, where that's my only concern at the moment. We've just got to rely on Moses' fitness. So in saying that, though, I would love to see us really strengthen, I think, a key forward in terms of an experienced sort of meathead that just is happy to go about his work, get the work done, and away they go. There is not. We've continued to say this because we did a special about this the other week. There is not much talent for next year. Like, that's just make sure we all know that. I know clubs might start to change a few things to get their salary cap in order, things like that. So that could change down the track. But for now, and the actual off-contract players, there isn't a whole heap out there. So it's going to be that whole, and like Jake sort of said, the balance between how much faith do we put into some of these youngsters. My only concern with the youngsters at the moment, and I had a chat to the old man this weekend. He's been staying the last couple of days, but I said the worry is that they're not ready yet. Like, they're still, for mine, at least 2 years away, maybe 3 to being actually ready to go, and things like that. There'll be people out there going, "Oh, well, Galvin's doing it at 19 years old. Look at him go." But I just feel like, from what I've seen so far and know of some of these younger guys coming through, they need that little bit more time. For mine, put that into some forwards, put it into getting some of these youngsters on deals early. At the moment, I have no answer what to do at the moment, Jake, to be perfectly honest, because, again, there's not much talent. It's sort of like I'd more so sit, wait, see what happens over the next couple of months, because I've got no doubt in my mind there'll be 3, 4, 5 clubs that will go, we need to do something. Even the Dogs, for instance, now they've got themselves in this situation, who's to say Burton might not go, you know what? I'm actually a bit annoyed by this because I've been killing it at 5'8". I've turned myself into a 5'8". Who's to say he won't turn around and say, you know what? I'm not saying it, like, he seems to have bought in very well with the Dogs, but who's to say he won't turn around and go, all right, I'm done. Let's shop myself around and see what I can get. And then we can go, you know what? Moses Burton looks great moving forward that. Let's get into that sort of realm. So that's what I mean by
mate. Imagine.
Oh, that's what I mean by maybe waiting as well isn't the worst idea. I just wouldn't go all in just yet with the youngsters, is what I'm trying to say.
And I get that. Let's look. I'll say this. I've had a look at some options. None of them explode out to me. None of them are like, this is the best one like Galvin was, right? None of them just sit there and go like, this would just be slap in, perfect fit, done, right? One of our potential options, I'll throw this out to you, is Dylan Walker shifts into that sort of half role again, that 5'8" role, and then potentially I'm just throwing you options, and now you can. How about this? I'll throw you an option. You just yes or no. If it's a no, we move on.
Yep.
All right. So we'll say the Dylan option to 5'8", Dylan Walker to 5'8" option. Straight away, hate it. All right, done. Option number 2, Dean Hawkins shifts up. I know he's a game controlling half, but he plays like a 5. He can play like a 5'8". Play him in 5'8" potentially as an option.
Worst case scenario, it could work. Yeah,
it could work. We've got Ronald Volkman. Okay, he hasn't played with Moses yet. I actually think he'd be a pretty good, handy 5'8" the way he plays. I just don't think he's a halfback.
Yeah. See it first. I commit to it.
I would have to see it, and that's totally fair. Another option for you, Joash Papali, and I know we've seen him on the weekend for the first time. We haven't seen him in first grade play 5'8". From all reports, when he played 5'8" down in reserve grade, it wasn't incredible. It wasn't terrible. It was a bit of a mixed bag, which just means he could use development.
I just love his energy. I love what he brings to this team, and everyone has been speaking about it, the club players, and that just the energy that he delivers to this team. I love that. It's infectious. So I would like to potentially start to see that towards the end of the year. If we start to not be in calculation for finals, it's very close at the moment. I realize we're only a win out of the 8 at the moment, which is crazy. 2 points out of the 8, I should say, which is crazy. So that in itself it blows my mind, because I feel like we've been pretty average for a lot of the year. So unless we're out of full-blown finals contention, I'd want to actually then see that happen and just be like, let's just see where it goes, perhaps. That, for now, is my most exciting combination, because, look, I think he has plenty to work on, but he's still young. And I think we've all seen, and we all know since probably the start of the year and seeing him in trials, he needs regular first grade. He needs to be almost starting week to week. This could open the door for that to happen.
Yeah, I hope that he goes to, oh, God, what's the reserve grade coach's name? Nathan Callis. I hope he goes to Nathan Callis and goes, I want you to try and develop me as a 5'8", because I want to try and take that spot for next year. Like, I want to earn that spot for next year. I'd love to see him do that, but we don't know that. You've also got in reserve grade, this is probably my last of the, I think there's a Josh Lynn. Is he SG Ball or Fleet?
He's flag at the
apparently
moment. He went from SG Bull, I think, to flag recently.
Yeah, because huge raps on him, but he's young, right? So he still has a bit of time in him for development. I was just going to say the last one of my options from reserve grade is Apatwiddle. So there's been big raps on Apatwiddle for a long time, and he's shifted between fullback and that number 6 role. And I think him and Joach kind of flip in and out of those two roles. So apparently he's a really gun number 6. I don't watch enough reserve grade. I'm actually going to probably start paying a lot more attention to reserve grade now that I know we need to find a 5/8. So there's that. Now, give me some. I'll give you some options for outside of the Eels. We do have Tamari Martin. Now he's on the outer at the Cowboys. Sorry,
don't mind it. Is it the Warriors? Don't mind it.
Sorry. Yeah, the Warriors. He's out of touch at the Warriors. It doesn't seem like he seems like he's on the outer. I don't mind it. I still prefer him as a halfback, but at the same time, that just means if Moses did go down, you've got that. Like he's shown he can play halfback. When he was doing it last year, he actually really played well at halfback for the Warriors. My personal choice would be to try as hard as we can and throw that guaranteed 5/8 position, throw some money at Tyron Wishart. I would love to see us get Tyron Wishart in 5/8, but the issue is he's off contract next year. So we would have to try and do something pretty drastic on November 1 to try and get him over early. We'd have to either pay a fee to the Storm or something like that. I don't know. I don't care.
Storm very rarely let their players go early, so.
And I do understand that, but at the same time, if that's an option that we could
potentially a player in exchange, that's what they'd take.
Well, I mean, I don't hate that either. Depending on who it is, they can have Ryan Madison,
Brendan Hand.
Yeah, they can have Brendan Hands. And look, to be honest with you, that's where I'm at.
Dewey, I think is an option as well. I think he hasn't re-signed yet with the Tigers.
I don't love it. No, he did. I'm pretty sure he re-signed. I'm pretty confident he re-signed at the Tigers. But yeah, so those are our options.
We can see that there's not much happening in terms of players available. That's the whole worry, and that's why I'd probably say it might be worth sitting on our hands maybe for now. And
this is why I'm looking. This is why I'm looking at the fact that I really want to see us go internal, to be honest with you, because all that does, if we can go internal and we find somebody who really fits the bill well enough, that's just money to spend on forwards and to shape the team around these halves. Like Isaiah Aongi, I want to keep him and lock him down for a really, really long time. He's looked fantastic. He's been incredible. Riley Smith, I'd like to upgrade their contracts for big deals, 5 years. I don't care. Like I'd be okay with not anything past that because I don't believe in those really long-term contracts. But see, I think that if we can just find that 5/8 that just works for us, even if it's in for a year and we could get that Tyron Wishart or something along those lines, even if we could sign Tyron for next year, so we just have that 1 year gap, we're like looking for that option kind of thing, potentially could be something as well. But we have this spine coming through, at least Aongi and Riley, and obviously we have Moses, but I mean like these young guys who I want to lock down for long-term contracts. So even if something does come up in a year from now, we still have that building spine on its way. And that way, we should hopefully have a lot of money from the players we've lost this year. And then there's that rumor that Junior Paulo might retire, although he's actually been in good form recently. That we will have even more money to spend potentially on a forward and things like that. So we've got...
I think the Paulo rumor has gone away now because I feel like at the start of the year that was playing up a lot, where I think it surprised him how good his foot's actually come along in the season. So I believe in his mind at the moment, he does want to play on and go one more time next year.
I hope so.
I actually think he has a lot of faith in next year as well, seeing what Riles is doing currently. He actually genuinely believes, from what I've been told, that we can actually have a bit of a crack next year in terms of playing some finals football, and who knows what happens once you're in the finals. So if he can keep up what he's doing, we've always said he can play a part, even if it's from the bench from next year, playing the way he is. I reckon he can have a 30-minute stint. That'd be great. But from the Lachlan Galvin stuff, I think it's fair to say, as we wrap things up, it's disappointing from a player point of view, missing out on that sort of talent. It's disappointing from a combination point of view. Galvin and Moses together was like a dream come true in a way, especially to replace Dylan Brown. That would have been huge.
I just was going to say with the establishing players that are coming through the developing like forwards more so and wingers and centers, sort of type of thing that we have coming through, an established half would have been the best option. If we could get an established half that we all wanted, it would have been the better option. But that is what it is.
And a shout out to Mitch, because you haven't done a very good sales pitch as well, obviously, because you've missed out. So don't do any more sushi dates or whatever you did, because it didn't work. Go and find another way to go about it. So and you actually had the added bonus of it being with your uncle. So if that can't get anyone over the line, we're screwed. Or are you going to say sorry?
I was just going to say my final sort of thoughts on all of this is, like, if you wrap the whole thing up into a bundle, while it is disappointing we didn't get him, so far promising results have come from us promoting from within, right? Can you agree with that from what we've seen so far this season? Promising results, and especially in the last few weeks, promising results have come from us showing faith in our juniors and choosing to promote from within. I say if that's working for us at the moment, keep the train rolling. It saves money, first of all, to spend on if someone perfect comes up to fill in whatever gap or whatever. It saves money, and you're going to be picking players who have faith in the club and in the systems, and know your systems already. So my hope is, I hope it's Joash. I hope Joash comes in and he really like knuckles in it when he plays in that 6th role. I'd actually love to see him come and do that. The other option, and this is just me throwing something out here because we're out here to do that, could be potentially seeing how Iongi went in 5/8 and shifting Papali to fullback. Because I actually think Iongi's we've seen early in the season, he's got a real nice cutout. His defense is fine. We've seen his defense in those one-on-ones. He's usually pretty on top of it. And I haven't seen him kick much. I don't know if he has a kicking. He might not have a kicking game, to be fair. I don't know about that. But I actually think he'd suit 5'8" pretty well because he's got a good step on him. He's got kind of everything you'd need. You shift Joash where his natural position at fullback could work. Just saying. Could be an option.
Well, it's also Iongi's natural position is fullback, and he's killing it. So for now, I would not be moving Iongi. I love the ideas and stuff, but I would not be doing. I'll shut that one straight down. But I think, as I was sort of saying, it was disappointing, that whole side of it. But there is a bit of excitement now with it as well. It's a lot of money we've got to play with a war chest. We have more than just that to play with as well. I'll tell you that now. We have got a fair bit of cash at our disposal for next year. Hopefully, as I said, some players start to happen. Even things like Fafita at the Gold Coast seems to not be working, so that sort of play could become available. Get those players on the cheap might help. Just basically strengthen a few of those spots that we are needing strengthened as well. But that's it. Thank you for tuning in again. This will just be us moving forward every couple of weeks or whatever. There'll be Parra Pure Focus podcast. And then the rest of it will stay as normal, and we'll put a Parra aspect onto all that stuff as well. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, everyone. Smash that follow, subscribe, all those sorts of buttons. Don't forget the hats are for sale, the shirts, whatever you want merch-wise. Please reach out to the page, put your orders in. But goodbye, good night for now, whatever time of day it is for you, and see you for the next one.